Hey, what's up guys, it's Uchiha here, back with a new series. The name of this series is What If Naruto Became the 6th Hokage. And yeah guys, it's a story by Redo Origins 2. And yeah guys, I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And without further ado, let's begin with our story. Story begins. I think I understand, Naruto. Nagato said these words to our favorite blonde ninja who had just defeated him. Naruto had used the powerful sensory ability of the Sage Mode to locate him and ask him his story, and told his own, and told him how there is still hope, and how Jiraiya was, and how Nagato lost himself to darkness and become pain. Standing beside him, his friend Konan watched the boy change Nagato, and a feeling of familiarity washed over her. She could almost see Yahiko in him. Her thoughts were broken as Nagato spoke. Naruto, I have made my mistakes, and I hope to correct them. I will revive the villagers and give you a parting gift. And I will pray that you succeed in which I have failed. Yahiko failed, and Jiraiya Sensei failed. Konan knew what Nagato was going to do and voiced her thoughts. Nagato, you can't. It will kill you. If the first doesn't, then second surely will. She couldn't lose Nagato. He was everything to her since Yahiko's death, and doing something like this with his current chakra level will surely kill him and leave her alone. No, Konan. I have made many mistakes and taken many lives. This is only my chance at redemption, and I must do it. Nagato said this and put his hands in a ram hand seal and said, Outer path, some sort of heavenly life technique. Curiosity got the better of Naruto, and he asked, What is happening? Konan answered, Nagato is using the 7th pain. Therefore, he is outside the samsara, cycle of death and rebirth, and he has control over life and death. Naruto was shocked. Nagato can control the lives of people. Suddenly from his collar, a slug appeared and said, The villagers are being revived. Naruto now knew what Nagato was doing. He was reviving the villagers he killed in the attack. He saw as Nagato's appearance changed. His ribs were clearly visible, and his hair turned white-head. He was heavily panting. He released the jutsu and collapsed to the ground, besides Konan, who was helping him sit straight. He looked at Naruto and again held up the ram seal and said finality, Outer path, gift of the bearer. Suddenly, a beam shot out of his hands towards Naruto, and white light enveloped him, and pain shot through Naruto's body and collapsed him to his knees. It was only for a moment, and Naruto could feel some changes in his chakra. He decided that he would investigate that later. He stood up and looked at Nagato and asked him, What did you do? Nagato smiled and said, 3 dots, more panting. This jutsu allows me to give someone a Kekkei. I just gave you the power of Mokutan. To say Naruto was shocked was an understatement. He had seen Yamato-sensei do Mokutan and heard about the battle powers of the Shodai Hokage Senju Hashirama due to his Mokutan. He looked at Nagato with shock written over his face and said, Thank you, Nagato. I will make sure I use this gift to the fullest. Nagato smiled and nodded, acknowledging Naruto's thanks. He knew he did not have much time left and looked up at Konan and said, Konan, you were always there, by my side, and never left me. For that, I thank you. Make sure you help Naruto the best you can. With those words, Nagato closed his eyes and went into an eternal slumber, but Naruto was there, and he couldn't believe his eyes, but not before watching Konan with tears in her eyes, and nodding, telling him that she will do just as he had said. Naruto was shocked at this. Link break. Naruto stood in front of Konan, who had just wrapped up the body of Nagato in her papers, and was wrapping the body of Diva Part too. He asked her, You are taking him too? She looked at him and said, This is Yahiko, someone very important to us. Naruto looked at the half-wrapped body of Yahiko, bowed and said a prayer. He looked up at Konan and asked, What will you do now? Please tell me you are not returning to the Akatsuki. She looked at him, shook her head, and said, Yahiko and Nagato were my world. I was in Akatsuki because of them. I will leave Akatsuki now and return to Ame, stabilize things there, and look after the people. That's the least I can do for them, and it is also my duty. Naruto looked at her and smiled and said, Don't worry, you will do a great job, and if you have any problems, just tell me. The Uzumaki and Namikaze clan funds rival that of the daimyos combined. They are bigger than that of the fire daimyo. After things stabilize, inform me. I will see if there can be a treaty between Konoha and Ame. She looked at him, smiled, and replied, Don't worry, the funds from Hattori clan after Hanzo was killed are more than enough though. As for the treaty, I will inform you at once. She then held out her hand, formed a paper bouquet, and gave it to Naruto and said, I will help you in this battle against hatred, but there is also something important I want to inform you about. When we were doing this movement at first, Hanzo supported us, but he was coaxed by one of your shinobis. I think his name was Shimura Danzo. He was there when Yahiko was killed, and he attempted to kill Nagato with this Anbu type shinobi, who had a black mask with a kanji for ni or root on them. Anger brimmed within at Naruto when he heard this. He did not know much about Danzo, but the fact that he wanted to turn him into a mindless weapon, ni was denied by Gigi every time. He looked up at Konan and said, Thanks for telling him this. I will give him a chance, just like Nagato, and then see what happens. She nodded and waved her goodbyes, carrying the bodies of Nagato and Yahiko. Naruto looked at the bouquet, and a memory of Jiraiya came back to his mind. Link break. Naruto and Jiraiya sat under the tree in their own thoughts, as Naruto said. Sasuke said he was gonna sever his bond with me and become stronger, and that I was never gonna understand him. He looked up at Jiraiya and said, Hey, you were friends with Orochimaru way back, right, Irasanin? Why didn't he desert the village and decided to destroy Konoha? Jiraiya looked down at his godson, sighed, looked up at the sky and said, Orochimaru went through a profound change after his both parents were killed, and that's when he became obsessed with Kinjutsu. He looked down at his apprentice and said, I don't know if he was trying to resurrect his parents or to wreak vengeance on the village that he held responsible for their deaths. A sad look came in his eye, and he looked down and said, My parents weren't killed. So he trailed off at that point, jumped down from the tree, sat beside Naruto and said, I was accused of not being able to understand anything about him or his feelings. He sighed again and continued, Perhaps he was right, and I didn't understand a thing about him after all. He got up and walked up to a wooden platform and sat down and continued again. Even I am able to see that there is entirely too much hate in this shinobi world of ours. Naruto looked up at him questioningly and said, There's too much hate? Jiraiya looked at him and said, I've always wanted to do something about all this hatred. I'm just not quite sure how to go about it. It's just yet. But I truly believe that eventually the day will come when all people will understand one another and live in harmony. Naruto said, It sounds kinda complicated to me, Jiraiya replied. And if I can't find a solution to this problem, then perhaps I will entrust you to find it. Instead, Hey Naruto? Naruto looked up at him and said, Hi, I can't turn down a request from my sensei. Can I, Arasani? Jiraiya, upon listening this, started laughing. This earned a glare from Naruto. Was, Nani, what the hell is so funny about this, Arasani? Jiraiya replied, Your smile is my salvation, Naruto. I am very glad I made you my student. Naruto looked up at him with one of his true smiles and asked, Yeah, you really are. Jiraiya nodded and said, But I haven't given up on doing it myself just yet, you know. Naruto tilted his head to his left and said, Huh? Jiraiya said, I still have a plan to change this world. He then did his dramatic pose with one of his books in his hand and said, With my books. Naruto deadpanned and said, You mean the books which don't sell? Jiraiya scowled and said, Fool! They will be the bestsellers before you know it. And when the day finally arrives, I will not sign your copies, even if you begged me to. Naruto continued his deadpan expression and said, I don't want your stupid autograph anyway. He leaned against the tree with his hands behind his head, closed his eyes, and gave one of his true smiles and continued, I don't want that anyway. He opened his eyes and his eyes watered before he said, Because you gave me something much more valuable. At this, a lone tear escaped his and Jiraiya's eyes. Link break. Naruto in present shed a lone tear and smiled and looked up to the sky. I will find a way to remove this hatred, Jiraiya-sensei. Nagato, Do-chan, Gigi, I promise. Link break, Mount Miyaboku. It's over, as it was foretold, said the great old elder Gamamaru, who was tending to an injured Gamabunta. What? Asked Gamabunta. It is over, Bunta. Naruto succeeded. He answered with a smile on his face. Gamabunta smiled at the news of Naruto's success. First it was Jiraiya, then Minato. I wondered how you will hold up compared to those two. Link break. Naruto was returning back to Konoha, but he was utterly exhausted. His legs betrayed him as he started falling, but the impact never came. He opened his eyes and said, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi gave him his eye smile and said, Rest up, Naruto. You did great. Naruto smiled and did so, but he suddenly remembered something and asked, Kakashi-sensei, what do you know about Danzo? Please tell me everything. He was partly responsible for this attack and destruction of Konoha. Kakashi was shocked and looked at Naruto. He knew that something was done by Danzo when he met the blonde's gaze and saw how confident he was. He then enlightened Naruto and Danzo. He told him everything about his ways, roots, disbanding of Root, suspicions of Root still running, his ideals, his rivalry with the Sandem, and his bad-mouthing of Sandem's ideals. Naruto felt his anger brim up again when he heard all of this, but decided that he will give Danzo a chance because no matter what, Danzo is still powerful, and if it was the Sandem's rival, then he was no joke, and working together with him will bear more results than working against him and causing a rift in the village. Link break. When he arrived at the village, he saw a sight that he never expected. Civilians and shinobi were there cheering for him. Him! Of all people! Then he heard what people were saying. Welcome back! You are a hero! We'll believe in you. Thank you. A slug came out of his collared jacket and said, I told them everything that happened. They have been waiting for your return. Upon watching this, Kakashi had a flashback to the day when he asked his team about their dreams. My dream is to become the Hokage, the way everyone will acknowledge my existence. Naruto, you did it. You changed the hearts of people. You showed them the true you. You made them acknowledge you. He watched as Naruto made his way to them and was surrounded by kids who were questioning him about the enemy and asking him other questions. Naruto saw Sakura came out of the crowd towards him. He said, Sakura-chan. She stopped in front of him as tears fell down out of her eyes as she ran up to Naruto and hugged him, as he was her lifeline. Don't ever scare me like that, you baka. I thought you were dead. Do you know how much scared I became? Naruto was surprised by this. Naruto knew that Sakura had never shown him love and affection like this, let alone cry for him. He brought his hands up and embraced her and whispered into her ears, Don't worry, Sakura-chan, I am back. I am sorry for making you worry like that. I let my anger get better of me, but don't worry, I am back for you. Sakura felt her heart race up to her cheeks when she heard that, but ignored it. She let go of Naruto and kissed him on the cheek. Both of them blushed at this. As this was happening, Kiba was whining about becoming stronger. Shino was pointing him out at every point. Neji and Tenden stood there in awe of Naruto as they heard how he fought the person who destroyed the whole village with one jutsu. Lee was ranting about how Naruto's flames of youth burned brightly for defeating such an opponent in a youthful way, and said, Yosh, I will run 100 laps around Konoha for my eternal rival, and if I fail, he trailed off as he was bonked on the head by Tenten, who said, Lee, don't ruin the moment. Shikamaru thought, You troublesome bastard. You did it. Jody said, Naruto really has left us behind. He really did it, man. Man, we sure have a lot of training to do. Huh? Ino said dreamily, I may fall for him now, which caused the other two males, members of her team, to look at him in surprise. Meanwhile, Hinata watched the exchange between Naruto and Sakura with jealousy and narrowed her eyes and thought, Now that I have made my move on Naruto-kun, she wants him? In the back, Iruka watched his students in pride along with Konohamaru and Ebisu. Konohamaru wanted to go and congratulate his Naruto Nii-chan, but was stopped by Iruka, who was telling him along with Ebisu how Naruto never gave up, and how he changed everyone's opinion of him, how people started to care about him, and he had finally got what he wanted. Link break. Naruto from the corner of his eyes watched an Anbu member came and say something to Shikaku, which caused him to leave. This did not go unnoticed by Kakashi, who looked at the blonde and nodded, and both of them took off to the emergency council room in the head of the Nandem Hokage. Link break. Emergency War Council room. The daimyo sat in the middle of the table in a large chair which had a kanji for fire on top of, signifying that he was the daimyo of Hinokuni. To his left were his 5 advisors, who along with the daimyo had a paper in front of them regarding the damages, the expenses and the budget. To his right were the 5 most important people on the Konoha Council. The first was Utatane Koharu, who was the village elder, teammate of the now deceased Sandam, and the student of the Nidaime. She was a part of the original Team 7. Continued was her other teammate, Mita Kodo Hamura, another village elder and member of the original Team 7. Next was Shimura Danzo, another village elder and the leader of the supposedly disbanded Root Division of the Anbu. Next, the commander of the Ansatsu Senjutsu, Tokubetsu Butai Anbu. He is currently wearing a yellow full body cloak and has an Inu mask on his face. Next to him is Nara Shikaku, the head of the famed Nara clan and the Jonin commander of the Konohagakure no Sato. There was a silence in the room for 2 minutes until Hamura broke the silence. Daimyo-sama, we still plan on working with the other countries to deal with the terrorist threat known as Akatsuki, as we, along with Kumo, are the only countries who still have their Jinchurikis, so we may be attacked again. Danzo did not like the current topic at the hand and decided to intervene. That currently is not our main concern. With Tsunade-sama's coma, we don't know when she will be back to her full strength again. I say we have to nominate a new Hokage. So it has come to this, huh? Thought Shikaku as he eyed Danzo. He knew that this would happen again, and Danzo's ambitions and ways over the years. Koharu decided to add her own 2 cents. I agree with Danzo, Daimyo-sama, as it is partly Tsunade-sama's fault for the condition in the village. The daimyo covered his mouth and nose with his fan in front and I would have preferred Jiraiya to be the Rokudaime. Good and happy lad, but sadly he died over a month ago. Shikaku noticed the gleam in the Danzo's eyes as Danzo opened his mouth to say something, but Shikaku decided to intervene. I nominate Hatake Kakashi. Outside the room, Kakashi's lone eyes widened as he heard himself being nominated. He looked at Naruto, who smiled his true smile, and said, "Don't get surprised, Sensei. You have earned it. You are arguably the most famous ninja except for the Kage, strong, smart, and value teamwork, and to mention you are the last surviving student of the Tochan." Kakashi's eyes widened even further, but then he gave Naruto one of his eye smiles and decided to ask about that later. Naruto continued, "But sorry, Sensei, I will nominate myself and get this village back on track. But you will be my second in command. And there is one more thing, Sensei." In Naruto's serious tone, he concentrated fully on the blonde and gave him the nod to continue. "Nagato, it was the real name of pain. Not only revived the villagers, but also gave me a Kage Genkai. With the help of his Rinnegan, he gave me Mokutan." Kakashi was in utter shock. Mokutan was the most revered Kage Genkai in the world, and the only one which can match the power of the Sharingan. I plan to use it to deceive the elders and the daimyo, but I ask you to keep quiet about it. If I know that little deceiving can stop Danzo, then I will do it. Kakashi was shocked and proud of the maturity Naruto was showing. He was protecting Konoha in every way he can and was showing the signs of a great leader. He couldn't help but smile. "Minato-sensei, Kushina-sama, you will be proud of how much Naruto has grown." And he turned his attention back to the inside of the room. Inside the room, the Sandam was wrong in his teaching. His teachings are the reasons Konoha is in the state today. We need a ruthless leader who can do the necessary steps, and that is me. I nominate. Danzo was stopped as the door to the room kicked open and revealed Kakashi and Naruto leaning against the door with a smile on their faces. The Anbu commander who had detected them had a smirk behind his mask and thought, "If you are here for what I think you are, then we will be saved and I will fully support you, Uzumaki Naruto." Amira stood up and said, "What are you doing here? This place is off limits for both of you." Naruto replied, "Forgive us, Hamura-san, but we came to show Danzo how he is wrong in rich teaching and came with proof of 4 crimes that Danzo has committed." Upon hearing these words, Daimyo got interested and said, "Oh, I would like to hear the crimes Danzo has committed, but who might you be, 2 gentlemen?" Both of them straightened up and bowed. "I am Hatake Kakashi, Daimyo-sama, and I am Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, Daimyo-sama." Every eye except Kakashi and Shikaku widened upon hearing this, who had smirks on their faces. Shikaku fueled the fire. "He is saying the truth, Daimyo-sama. He is the son of our beloved late Yondam-sama, Namikaze Minato, and also the last of the royal Uzumaki line of the Uzushio Gakure, as he is the son of Purple Princess Uzumaki Kushina, Akatsuki no Habanero, also known as in Konoha. The advisors elders except Danzo and the Anbu commander paled upon hearing the last moniker, as they knew Kushina as someone not to meddle with, as she was arguably the best Konoichi, only behind Senju Tsunade and Mito Uzumaki. The Anbu commander, because he had worked with her and participated in her training sessions time to time. The daimyo eyebrow shot up before his fan, hearing this, and said, "So you young men are the Konoha's new hero. I have been hearing about your actions are not surprising given your heritage. I remember Arashi, Naruto's grandfather, and Kushina, most energetic people I have ever seen, and your father, most down-to-earth and humble man I have ever seen. I heard that you are the one who keeps the Kyuubi at bay, and that you grew up alone. I have letters and pictures of your parents. I will possibly send them over to you when I return back to my place. I am honored, Daimyo-sama, but the reason I have come here is to protect Konoha against the schemes of a warmongering madman." He pointed at Danzo. At this, and before Danzo can say anything, he continued, "Daimyo-sama, Danzo said that Sandaime-sama's ideals were foolish and naive, but he is violently lying. Sandaime-sama's ideals were the ones that he inherited from Shodai-sama and Nidaime-sama, and passed on to his students Jiraiya-sama and Godaime-sama. Jiraiya-sensei passed on his ideals to Yondaime-sama and me. These are the ideals of will of fire, are not weak. Instead, they are the ones which gave us the power." He was interrupted by Danzo, who snorted and said, "See what I am talking about, Daimyo-sama. His ideals are weak. A shinobi who can't kill is not a shinobi." He was interrupted again by Naruto, who then explained about his talk and with the man named Nagato, and told the how became of his ideals. Kakashi and the other villagers were alive and said that if I had followed Danzo's ideals, then we would have been burying instead of celebrating, and that seemed to be the trick. The daimyo and his advisors were impressed by this, and Danzo was sneering because he had lost the Hokage position once again to a Sarutobi spawn. Daimyo chuckled and asked, "Anbu, Hancho, Nara-san, what do you think about young Naruto-san here?" Seeing that where the thing was going, Chicago said, "I see what you are asking about, Daimyo-sama, and fully support your choice. This boy here has the experience and the heritage and the power to stand up to the position, lead our village. No one is a better leader than him. He can turn the darkest of situations into the brightest ones. He puts his comrades before him. He is ready to sacrifice himself for the sake of his comrades. A Jonin commander of Konoha on the behalf of all Jonins. Chunins, Tokubetsu, Jonins, and Genins support Uzumaki, Namikaze, Naruto as the Rokudaime Hokage." "What? You can't do this. He's merely a 16-year-old. He was the dead last of the academy. He failed the graduations 2 times, retorted Koharu, who nearly yelled out of this. Before anyone could say anything, the Anbu commander calmly responded, "I find that to be half-truths, Elder Son. I have seen his original academy records. He was about to graduate in his first year as the Rookie of the Year. His graduation was sabotaged. Given that he was enrolled 2 years before the normal ages, makes this more interesting. He was able to outrun me and my best man at the age of 8. He painted the Hokage monument in broad daylight in an orange jumpsuit without anyone noticing. He beat the Hyuga prodigy in the Chunin exam. He also defeated the current Kazekage in the last invasion. Recently beat the man who defeated Kodaime-sama and killed Jiraiya-sama, and destroyed the whole village using one jutsu, and he also has mastered the Sanin Modo, and a feat that is only achieved by the Shodai Hokage. Even Jiraiya-sama has not been able to do so. If you want his qualities, then Jonin, Hancho, and I can go on and form a nearly endless list." Naruto looked at both of his commanders and gave them an appreciative nod, which they returned. The daimyo then stood up and walked up to Naruto and placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, do you accept the position of the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato?" Naruto looked up at the man and determined in his eyes, bowed and said, "Hi, Daimyo-sama. Though I request you to instate me as Uzumaki Naruto, I don't want to reveal my heritage just yet, as it could cause some problems and the villagers' current situation. I think this is the best." The daimyo snorted and removed his hands from his shoulder and said, "Very well, then I, daimyo of Hainekuni, appoint you, Uzumaki Naruto, as the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato." Afterwards, Naruto was quickly introduced to the daimyo to the council members as the new Hokage. Despite still recovering from their shock, the council's members clapped for Naruto. Everyone expected for the old warhawk Danzo stay silent during this rest of the ordeal, as he carefully hid his emotions, instead of eagerly watching, listening to the rest of the council meeting. With all of this now over and behind us, I am happy to say that Konoha now welcomes a new age with the new regime of the Rokudaime Hokage. With a new Hokage in Konoha, the village must celebrate the momentous occasion, said the daimyo quite eagerly. I agree, Dame-sama. We must have a formal introduction and announcement soon for the people. The induction of our new Hokage could increase the current morale of the people of Konoha, answered the elder Hamura. Excellent. We must prepare for a momentous occasion. I believe we could prepare the village within 3 days for the celebration. The daimyo said as the Konoha representatives nodded their heads. He then looked at Naruto. As for you, introduction into office, I will need you to write a speech. Will you need anything for your introduction ceremony? He continued as he directed his attention to the whiskered young man. Naruto shook his head. Very well, Hokage-sama. 3 days from now, I will expect you all prepared for the induction ceremony. I need Anbu to call in the whole population of Konoha to watch the front of the Hokage Tower as Uzumaki-san is announced as Tsunade-chan's successor. We will also keep the purpose of the event a secret, and nobody shall know about Naruto's induction until the day itself, ordered the daimyo. Everyone in the room nodded their heads. Now, if there's nothing else, then everyone is dismissed, said the daimyo as the council members all began to stand up from their seats one by one. Danzo was the first one to get up, but before he could walk away, Naruto said, Shimura Danzo, I want to talk to you in my office once I am instated as Hokage. Danzo glared at Naruto, but still nodded and left. Soon the representative of Konoha left. The elders Koharu and Hamura were the first to leave, but before they extended their congratulations to Naruto. During that small conversation, they also formally introduced themselves as the Hokage's personal advisors. Next was the Anbu commander, the masked man, congratulating him for his promotion as well. But before the commander left, he ran one thing over the newly inducted Hokage. Hokage-sama, before I leave, I must inform you of the custody and customary 4-man Anbu bodyguard squad is designated to protect you, he told the young man. Of course, tell me about this bodyguard squad, Hancho. Naruto ordered as the commander nodded. Hokage-sama, it is required for the Hokage to be guarded at all times, so due to this, the Hokage is given 2 certain bodyguards groups, the Hokage Guard Platoon and the 4-man Anbu bodyguard squad. The 4-man Anbu squad dedicated to your protection. They include among the best Anbu has to offer, and they will act as your shadow. They also are assigned to protect you through the shadows, and their area of protection is around Konoha's premises, especially within the tower. They also act as messengers and also bodyguards for the Hokage's family. He explained as Naruto nodded and impressed over the security of the Hokage. Tell me more about my squad, Hancho. Well, unfortunately, with a new Hokage comes a new squad, and with that, I must recruit your new team for you. Hopefully, I will have them in a few days, replied the commander stoically. Of course, I look forward to meeting my team. Arigato, Hancho. Naruto replied back as the commander bowed and vanished via a plump of smoke. The last remaining people in the council's room were none other than Naruto, Kakashi, and Shikaku. The Jonin commander also made his way to Naruto with a small smile on his face as he too placed a hand on the young man's broad shoulder. He only had one simple sentence and message for his friend. Congratulations, kid. Naruto would be proud of you. In some ways, you remind me of your father, he said. Before walking out of the room, Naruto nodded his acknowledgement. So, what do you plan to do now, Hokage-sama? Kakashi said with a smirk behind his mask, which grew as he watched Naruto's left brow twitch violently as he groaned and replied, Cut the crap, sensei. Only during official times you have to call me that, you know that. Not when we are alone. But, for now, let's head back to the office and wait for Danzo. I'm sure he must be planning something. Link break. Naruto stood in his watching the mountains of paperwork on his desk. Kakashi had a shivering grin on his face but he was shocked as he saw Naruto make 10 Kage bunches and give the paperwork to them. Naruto saw Kakashi and replied with a smug smirk of his own. He then summoned Fukusaka and Shima. The two toads popped up next to Naruto, and he went on to explain the situation to the both of them. Both were pleasantly surprised to hear that Naruto was named the new Rokedame Hokage, but the real reason Naruto called them was to ask for help concerning a new outfit. Naruto decided that since he was now being chosen as Hokage, he also needed a new change of clothes to signify a change in him. It was time for him to mature and grow up if he were to lead the whole village. The toads smiled at the sight of an all-orange Hokage, but they shook their heads from that thought. Naruto instead explained to both Fukusaka and Shima the type of materials he will need, and they knew which clothes he will need for his induction as Hokage. The two toads were more than happy to help Naruto. Soon both returned to Mount Miyaboku to prepare Naruto's outfit. Once again, Naruto was left to his own thoughts. He continued to watch his village through the large window. Jiraiya-sensei, Hokage Gigi, To-chan, if only you could see me now. I will make you all proud, he suddenly thought to himself before deciding to enjoy the view and watching the sunset over his home. The home he would now lead, protect, and fight for as Hokage. Unknown. Akatsuki hideout. Within a dark and damp cave, a man resembled a Venus flytrap sprouted from the ground. The man wore a black robe with red clouds, and upon arriving in the area, he noticed two other men wearing the same outfit. Zetsu finally arrived. Now tell me of Pain and Konoha, demanded a man wearing an orange spiral mask. The one known as Zetsu then recognized the two. The first was the mother Uchiha. The second, more silent one, is the back who resembled as a shark was Kisame Hoshigaki. Zetsu nodded and approached the two. He then gave them a detailed report back to the battle which took place in Konoha, along with the events which transpired after the battle. By the end of all this, both Mother and Kisame were bewildered by the fact that Pain was defeated, and by Naruto nonetheless. Mother also gritted his teeth at the loss of two more members within the organization. Pain had died, restoring the lives he killed in Konoha, while Konoha defected the group. What of the Hokage? Mother asked suddenly. With the Goraime Hokage in coma, I heard rumors that there is going to be a new Hokage. I delved in a little deeper, and the fingers are pointed towards Danzo. We have a reason to suspect that Danzo may be the Rokudaime Hokage, Madara-sama, answered Zetsu calmly. Knowing the man, I won't be surprised if he was chosen, Madara muttered as he massaged his temple. I must admit, this Naruto kid is becoming more and more of a pain in my backside. He has constantly put a wrench in our plans, or at least tried. He continued. Huffing in annoyance, Madara attempted to calm himself to make rational decisions concerning the following days, since it was becoming apparent that his plans were not coming along as smoothly as he would have liked. After composing himself, Madara looked towards his two recruits. Kisame, I need you to go and hunt down the Hachibi. You must succeed where Sasuke and his team failed. And as for you, Zetsu, I need you to return to Konoha and continue your spying on the Hokage matter. I need to know who is chosen, he ordered with authority, as both Akatsuki members nodded and disappeared, just as quickly to do as they were told. As Madara was the left one remaining inside the secret cave, he decided his next course of action. The Uchiha sighed as he thought to him, it appears I need to have a small family reunion. With that in his mind, he too vanished, using his Jukin ninjutsu to form a portal to transport himself from one place to another. Konoha. It was early in the afternoon, and we see our hero, the new Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki, quickly making his way towards the Hokage office to meet with the daimyo elders. The moment for his induction was close at hand. On his way, there he was greeted by numerous civilians and ninjas. As the new hero in Konoha, everyone clamored to the young man. As he walked towards his office, he also noticed the people of Konoha being told by the Anbu to gather in front of the Hokage Tower, one of the few remaining structures which remained after Pain attack. He heard that the people were being called for an important announcement. He overheard some people whispering, wonder and murmur what his special announcement was going to be, and he smiled. These people were in for a shock of their lives, he thought. After a while, Naruto managed to arrive just in time in his new office. Upon entering, he saw the elders, Hamura and Koharu, with the exception of Danzo. The two were patiently standing in a corner, patiently waiting for him. Also in the office were other council members from the day before. Danzo and the advisors were not present, but the Anbu commander, Jonin commander, and Fire Daimyo were. As he entered, he was personally greeted by each of them. They exchanged formal handshakes and congratulatory greetings. Before continuing, he executed and excused himself from the office to finally change into his new outfit. He then left to the office and headed to the private room to change upon finding a vacant room within the large tower. As he entered the room, he summoned both Fukusaka and Shima. Hello again, Fukusaka-sama, Shima-sama. Do you have the clothes I asked for? He questioned the two toads. Of course, Naruto-chan. You better appreciate how long it took me to make this for you on such short notice, Shima said with a mock annoyance as she handed him a storage scroll containing the clothes she carefully made for Naruto induction ceremony. Arigato, Shima-sama. Fukusaka-sama, I'm sorry I made the request on such a short notice, he said while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. No worries, Naruto-chan. Now go on and get changed already, she ordered. Naruto smiled and gave the two toads a mock salute before changing into his new clothes. As Naruto opened the storage scroll and released the storage items, he couldn't help but admire the clothes they made for him. He reluctantly tossed aside his trusty orange jumpsuit and replaced it with his new attire. Once he was finished changing, he was looking in front of the mirror. I look so cool, he inwardly squealed as he finally got a look and a closer look at his outfit. As he looked at himself, he studied every single part of his clothes, and he smiled. Both Fukusaka and Shima really did him a solid. He now wore a black high-neck t-shirt with a single white stripe down the middle, baggy grey ninja pants tucked in his black sandals, bandages, and a kunai and shuriken holster on his right thigh, a Funjutsu kit and scroll on his right hip, and a medical kit on his left hip, which were covered by his orange Haori with black flames on the bottom, and Rokatama Hokage written in black. The Haori was short-sleeved and had black flames on each sleeve. The Haori had a string holding it, and finally his ninja headband holding his hair in his place. He put the Shadow Clone summoning scroll on his back in honor of Jiraiya. Sitting behind Naruto, both toads were amazed and stunned by the physical similarities Naruto holds with his father. With his new outfit, he could easily be mistaken for the Yonta. "Thank you for everything," Naruto told both the toads with a large smile on his face. The toad smiled back at him. "It was no problem, Naruto-chan. Congratulations on everything you accomplished. You deserve it," replied Fukusaka. "By the way, Naruto-chan, when your induction begins, the other toads are also going to arrive. Kamabunta, Kamaken, Kamahiro, and the other wishes to witness another toad summoner be named as Hokage," Shima said as Naruto glanced in their direction. "That would be great. I wouldn't be in the position I was today if I had not for those guys, and frankly Gamabunta has saved my life countless times, so it would be an honor if he could be here," Naruto answered back. With everyone now ready for Naruto, he decided it was almost time for his speech. He decided to return to his office, but before then, Fukusaka and Shima returned to Mount Miyaboku to rally towards to Konoha in order to watch Naruto's induction as Hokage. The Hokage was re-entered his office. Upon seeing his new clothes, the eyes of the daimyos and elders widened. For the daimyo, he could see that Naruto bore a striking resemblance with one of his predecessors, the Yondaime Hokage, but given how his father was, it was no surprise. The group then waited patiently for the people of Konoha to gather in front of the tower. After a few minutes, an Anbu member arrived and he looked at the new Hokage in surprise before composing himself once more. "Everyone is set, and the people have been called for in front of the tower, Daimyo-sama," he said. "Excellent. Shall we begin?" asked Daimyo as the ninja and Konoha's representative nodded. The group of 6 then walked up to the stairs to reach the top of the tower, the area in which the Hokage usually gives speeches to the people of Konoha. From the 5, Naruto was asked to stand by the door, where he could not be seen by the crowd. They asked him to wait before he was introduced as Hokage. Naruto nodded obediently and watched as the daimyo stood in the middle of the tower balcony. To his left were Koharu and Hamura, and to his right were the Jonin commanders and Anbu commander. As the daimyo walked to the front of the balcony, the crowd suddenly went silent. All signs of whispers, murmurs, and chattering all ceased as the daimyo prepared to address the people. "People of Konoha, I come before you today full of pride and joy. A new age dawns in Konoha, and we are here lucky enough to witness it. Unfortunately, the past few days have not been kind enough to Konoha, but rest assured, I will do everything I can to help with the destruction of the village," he declared, proudly causing the people of Konoha to clap and cheer for him. "Unfortunately, however, we also hold the bad news. From the most recent attack, our Godaime Hokage was left in a coma, and she does not appear to be waking up anytime soon. However, with the bad comes the goods. We found a way to fix the problem quite quickly. We managed to find a more worthy successor for Tsunade's position of Hokage," admitted the daimyo as the people of Konoha ceased their clapping, most of them adopting widened eyes. Rather than just cheering, there were no gasps and murmur around the crowds. Everyone was whispering with one another, all of them wondering who their new Hokage was going to be. As daimyo saw this, he smiled. He absolutely loved the suspense of the induction, and before he decided to name the Hokage, he shushed everyone in order for all of them to divert their attention towards himself. "The candidate we chose is a noble man who has proven himself to be more than worthy of this position. He is the hero of Konoha, and I am from what I can tell, he seems to be destined for this position," he continued before gazing up to the elderly man beside him, Hamura, in order to be hand the Hokage's hat. The daimyos then held the Hokage's hat. He was now close to bestowing it upon Naruto. He decided it was time to show the village the face of their new leader. "And without further ado, I now introduce you to the Rokudaime Hokage of Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto," he said. The villagers were silent upon hearing this declaration. Their new hero was their leader? Gasps could be heard all around the area, and most people were dead silent. Naruto presumed this was his cue. He made his way towards the daimyo as he was handed the hat. He grabbed it with his right hand and placed it on his head. The 5 other people occupying the front of the balcony stood back as Naruto decided to take the podium. From the crowd's eyes, all were focused on their new Hokage. The older generation of Konoha were rubbing their eyes. They believed it was as if they were seeing a ghost upon seeing Naruto. In the manner, they were reminding of a figure in the past. In Naruto, they saw the Yondam Hokage. From Naruto's point of view, the crowd was still speechless. He smiled as he looked from left to right. "I am Uzumaki Naruto, the Rokitame Hokage of Konoha Gakure no Sato," he yelled at the top of his lungs. As he screamed that, the heaven of the crowd burst and erupted with cheers, chants, songs, and claps. The people celebrated their new hero, their new Hokage. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, as this is Apollo Uchiha and I'm signing out. Peace.